Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, where last episode we turned around a guilty verdict once again after pursuing Mrs. Garadeb, with Juror 5 remembering his wife throwing a knife at him being enough to convince Juror 2 of a possible alternative explanation of the crime. We then asked Mrs. Garadeb if she had seen the weapon before, causing her to faint. However, Prosecutor Van Zeeks has stopped us from getting Mrs. Garadeb to testify on these happenings by getting Roly Beate to testify once more, learning that the windows of the Garadeb's house are top-hinged casements, limiting their opening angle to only allow an object to pass through to the street below. After pressing their testimony to learn more, we now receive a question to answer from Patricia Beate. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're down on us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beate. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one.
That was a very loud mutter. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Roly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beate. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Is that what you're saying? I guess that must be the new one. Okay, I'll press it.
Hold it!
Mrs. Beate, nobody is questioning what you've told us. I saw what I did. That evening, I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Roly. He gets ever so cross.
What's up with you now?
Excuse me.
Constable Beate, is there a problem?
No, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering the same thing happened that evening is all.
You mean Mrs. Beate lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes. My darling was gone a good 15.
Oh, Roly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly.
The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Roly's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his round.
Yes, how romantic.
I've forgotten all about it until just now. I had you, my darling.
Oh yes. But that was just between us. Not talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable Beate looked very obviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beate about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beate, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. Oh my god, does this testimony keep changing all the time? Doesn't stay the same ever.
Hold it!
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. We ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Roly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beate, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably.
That's right. Silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how it got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Bria Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Roly brought me. That changed from the gutter he's been so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh, yes, that's it. It's the bouquet Roly brought me for our anniversary with all bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord of Antiques, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garadeb household. In front of the Garadeb's house. Although it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No. I think for good measure this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh.
The anniversary bouquet has been entered into the court record.
But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beate. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Right then. What am I doing from here? Let's examine the bouquet. If there's anything to examine about it. It's very stylish paper the flower's wrapped in, isn't it?
It's just an old newspaper, Miss Naruhodo.
Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me.
Ah, I see.
Is something wrong?
Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake.
Ah, Susanna-san, you do love your cakes.
An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower.
Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before.
Do you not take an interest in flowers, Miss Naruhodo?
I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least.
Gosh, 3?
Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom.
Perhaps you should consider branching out, learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example?
Maybe. Alright, it doesn't seem that's a thing. However, nothing strange to report on the crime scene. Except this wasn't there. It got moved over to somewhere else. This feels like a statement to challenge because this would be where doubt could be brought in. We also got the local... Oh no, we got the case file update, didn't we? Border which runs down the middle of the Bria Road. We're postulating that essentially her body was moved, possibly, by Roly Beate in order to be able to take his wife to a meal that night for their anniversary, because if it was on the side it was on, he would not have been able to leave. So, he moved everything to the other side, including the book and a knife hidden down below, The anniversary bouquet was dropped at that side. So do I present it to this or not? I have already pressed this statement after all. To be honest, pressing it again isn't a bad idea on the basis that it will then give me a summary at the end, which will give me a hint as to what I'm doing. But I think we've just figured out what was strange with the crime scene. And also, on top of that, Roly did not want us to talk about the bouquet at all. So bringing it up might be the thing we need to do. Is it really nothing strange?
Objection!
This bouquet of the single rose. You claim, Constable Beate, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be.
What? What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beate, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with a policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Bria Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, a single sorry bloom can be so described. No doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beate not testify to the fact?
No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beate swore to that on Scotland Yard's honour. The bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Roly didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way round. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beate's bouquet, there's Mr. Garredeb's book. Mr. Garredeb's copied The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beate's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garredeb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them.
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Roly's done something wrong.
Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says? Whittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh good, Mrs. Garredeb's come round. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garredeb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mrs. Naruhodo. The person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Roly Beate.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Roly Beate, it was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense. Why would my Roly do something like that? There's no one strayer than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beate, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
It's If that was true, Constable Beate would have seen him do it.
Oh. Forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beate, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well...
Objection!
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something.
That's right. He's right. Well, my husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You've often no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beate had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Listen, Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrecoverably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Constable Beate's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Without a doubt. To move it onto someone else's beat is really what I wanted to say. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Brea Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? Definitely over here. Where over here, though? You know what I mean. It's over here somewhere. But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mr. Garadev's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beate, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right, I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Brea Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beate then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, so the pavement on the east side of Brea Road. Extraordinary! The constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume. Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Ziek said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't have been seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Brea Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Roly Beate. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
Oh, Roly. It isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only, it seems... it wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly! Order! What on earth is the meaning of all of this?
Oh, Roly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead should be one too.
Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town.
I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all of this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation for why on that particular evening, Constable Beate felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason.
What? How could you possibly know?
You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman?
And yet Lord Van Zieks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. The counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
And now then, I think you had better show us some evidence.
At once, my lord. England, Japan. It makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
What gives away the motive for Constable Beate's unthinkable actions?
Right. So we're looking at multiple things to think about here. I'm pretty sure this is useless even though that was updated during everything. So it's either this, but that's how we figured out said actions, not necessarily the reason for the actions, but equally it does seem to be the reason for the actions as well, because the reason for the action is what we're saying is the anniversary. But equally, like, could have done some other things, I guess. So the reasons for the actions that we know of, apart from the anniversary meal that he wanted to go to at some point that night to spend time with his wife, which makes sense, is the fact that he wanted it to be off of his beat, which we very much clarified. This pavement, this street on this side, was part of his beat earlier. For that to be nothing, and for this to mean nothing, would be wrong, isn't it? So, any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives, meaning he would not have been able to get away after the beat cop came. Or after the inspectors came. He'd have had to be there because he's the beat cop. So it's got to be one of these two things. I'm going to go with this on the basis of that's why he moved. Because he couldn't, because he was a cop. And if it was on his beat, he'd have been stuck.
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land and I have only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honourable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example.
keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But for Constable Beate, the day in question was special.
Special? How?
On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh yes! It was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beate had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beate stumbled upon a crime along Bria Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, it must have gone through the man's mind. Who's speaking now? Sir, just that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beate puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that Constable Beate offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beate. Is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat. Oh. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beate's beat.
Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done?
It was the first time since I became a copper I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. Got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then when I opened my mouth to speak. It just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meerschaum Street and then... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Roly. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street, to the east pavement of Bria Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Roly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
Ah, I see your meaning now.
But God got me back from my sins, didn't he?
That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Roly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Roly.
And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? Alright then. Well, we stop here yet again at another interesting point of discussion. But we have now figured out where the murder actually took place, what went on with the crime scene, everything being moved. But now we connect it further to the Garadebs, who at this point in time, it possibly seems like some form of accident. But maybe there's a little bit more to it? I guess we'll find out as we continue on this case on the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Join me next time for more, as we wonder where this is heading next. See you then. Bye-bye.